Well, hello again and welcome back to our weekly post-Eddie Howe press conference reflections. And to be honest with you, 7 days on, the only thing that's really changed is the street in which I'm walking on. Yeah, I've come to the next one down, and I think that's just almost symptomatic of where Newcastle United are right now. Not much has really moved on. Another week, another defeat down at Manchester City this time, where they've played well enough. They haven't played badly, but again they've been undone by a little bit of slack defending and their failure to score goals at the other end. So yeah, I thought I'd change the scenery, if not the content. And we've been with Eddie there this morning up at the training ground, and again, you know what we grilled him on. Did we grill him? I don't think we're in grilling territory yet with Eddie. Definitely not. What we mildly pursued him on was the subject of Callum Wilson and Alexander Isak. Now a week ago on this video, I made the case that it was time for Isak to start, and I said, you know, that wasn't based on me looking at Alexander Isak and thinking he's been tremendous. It was more so that I thought, well, what have you got to lose when Callum Wilson is so badly out of form? And again, down at Manchester City, we saw the same thing with Wilson, didn't we? Nothing really has changed. The one chance he did get, that just captured there in that one split second everything about Wilson right now. A player who seems to have lost sort of belief of mind and belief of body, and we'll come back to that because I've got one or two things to say about Wilson, where he's at the moment, and some of his comments this week. But first of all, the big thing to emerge from this was probably Eddie's admission, and this was unprompted really. He said, he asked himself a rhetorical question: is Alexander Isak ready to play 90 minutes on a consistent basis? And he said, no, probably not. And to us guys in the room, that was quite telling, because, he's been back from the thigh injury now for, 3-4 months now, and we saw him make his return at Sheffield Wednesday in January. We probably expected him to be ready to start games by this point, and he mustn't be. And you've got to trust what Eddie sees in training on a day-by-day basis. I always say that, we've got our opinions here, but ultimately Monday to Friday probably determines whether you're in the team or not. And there must be a reason why Eddie is persistent with Callum Wilson when he is so clearly, for me anyway, not 100%, not right, not the player we know. There's a reason why Isak isn't coming in, and I just thought that was a telling admission today, and it was buried amidst a lot of positivity around Isak. He said, let me tell you, that was again a departure from Eddie's normal rhetoric. He said, let me tell you, we have an outstanding talent here. So I think he sensed which way some of the questioning was going really. He just wanted to make the point that we've still got absolute full faith in this guy, and we just need to get him back to where we think he should be. Now, it prompted at the end of it, and again, I always try to give you a little bit of insight into what us guys are sort of thinking at the end. We get together, we have a chat, and things sort of moved on, and we said, the question was posed, have Newcastle made a mistake with Alexander Isak? And that might sound harsh, and I think it is harsh, but it was more in the context of, every other signing, not every other signing, but the majority of signings, certainly the early ones, we knew within 1 game, 2 game, 3 game, wow, they've got that right, and they didn't pay over the odds either. So while there was all that early praise for the likes of Bruno, Kieran Trippier, on the back of that Nick Pope, Sven Botman, brilliant signings who have proven sort of tremendous value for money, I think that was the context of the question we posed among ourselves. I think the conclusion we all reached was, well, the jury's out. Mistake is a very harsh word, but you can return we're not returning judgment, but you can return an opinion. And so far, has there been a great deal of evidence to suggest that Alexander Isak at £63 million is a very good sign? There's an excellent sign. Well, no, there hasn't been. And of course, there are huge mitigating factors. The thigh injury when he first came in, which kept him out for 3 or 4 months. Just when it looked as he was getting back to somewhere approaching form and fitness, he then goes and suffers a concussion in the League Cup tie against Southampton, and that knocked him back. And Eddie admitted that again this morning. But still, for all of that, I still think we're yet to see really truly something which shows him to be the player perhaps Newcastle thought they were getting him, and we thought Newcastle were bringing in. So while the fee on what we've seen so far probably does look a little heavy, given the good business they've got in terms of they unearthed Bruno and Sven Botman, 2 tremendous players for half of that £60 million just about. So I think what we all agreed on, we would like to see a lot more of him, because we're still not entirely sure exactly what Alexander Isak is and what Alexander Isak isn't. Will that be this Sunday against Wolves? Well, you never can tell with Eddie. As much as he drops that in that, he can't play a full 90 minutes regularly, it doesn't mean he can't start on Sunday and play for 60, 70, 80. So we'll have to wait and see on that front. And if he does come in, it probably will be for Callum Wilson. And it was interesting to listen to Callum during the week. And, I'll caveat all of this by saying, you guys know what I think of Wilson in terms of a character, a player. He's better than I ever thought he was, and in terms of my own copy and broadcast sort of musings, I pushed Wilson massively for the World Cup heading into Qatar. But I just think he said during the week that there's a lot of negativity about me outside noise at the moment, and I thought it's a little bit of a bugbear of mine when sometimes players and managers use that, because the negativity isn't, it's what us guys are reporting and what us guys are saying. It's not negative or positive. It's what we believe to be realistic, and the negativity emanates from the source. If Callum perceives that as negative, well, it's his own performance which has got to change for that coverage to all. If you know what I mean. It used to be various former managers at this football club have annoyed me on that front when they've spoken of outside negativity. You guys are negative. Well, no, you haven't won for 9 games. That's the negativity. So if you understand what I mean, I think to a degree. But Callum said he's going to use that as motivation. How Newcastle do need one of Wilson or Isak to come good over the coming weeks, because as Eddie Howe said this morning, games are running out now. They've got 14 matches left, and I've said before, and we're looking to use this phrase, save the season, but what a travesty and what a disappointment it would be if the current form persists. 3 goals since Boxing Day, and they do slip out of the top 6, top 7 places. And I just think it's so important that they secure European football this season for the long-term project. And that leads us on to the story which a few of us have written coming out of today's press conference. And Eddie was asked about the comments of Liverpool owner John W. Henry this week, who said that he would like to see more spending restrictions brought in the Premier League to safeguard against our league going the way of some of those in Europe where 1 or 2 teams dominate, which has to make you laugh, really, because of course it is absolutely laced with self-interest, and the reason the Liverpool owner wants that is probably just to protect their own existence among those top 3, 4, 5 teams. Now of course Eddie said Newcastle don't want that. They're at the start of their journey in terms of spending and pushing back on the boundaries of FFP, so they don't want more spending limitations brought in. To be honest with you, I think, having gone back and read Henry's comments, it doesn't really make much sense to me. It'd almost be, I think it would probably breach anti-competition, legislation as well. It just doesn't stack up when you've already got those FFP guidelines in place. But the point I make to come back to is, if Newcastle miss out on Europe this year, I just think it stalls and perhaps slows the journey they're on in terms of that spending, in terms of the argument they can make for sponsorship deals with regards fair market value. I think European football is so important, and they've got themselves in a brilliant position during the first half of the campaign that to lose that now, I think would be a major blow. Now, to that end, I just think this game on Sunday against Wolves will be so informative as to how the rest of the season goes, and coupled with the game 5 days later down at Nottingham Forest, going into a 2-week break, if they can take 6 points from those matches and just put a little bit of distance between themselves and the non-European places, going into that international break when they are going to go away to Dubai, I just think that is hugely important for them. And Sunday against Wolves, who are relatively resurgent, aren't they, under the new manager Lopetegui, and use the old cliche, it won't be an easy game. No games are easy for Newcastle at the moment, and that's because they're just not clicking in the final third. They're not playing poorly. We make this point over and over, don't we? The building blocks are there, and as much as the defence has come in for a little bit of criticism of late, and I understand why, and I've probably shared those thoughts myself. I do think when, as a backline, that you've almost got to keep a zero, keep a shutout, just to protect the point, really. I think that puts enormous and undue pressure on you, and for if Newcastle starts scoring again, then it does alleviate that pressure on the guys at the back. And does he do now in midfield? Joe Linton is suspended for 2 games. The likelihood is that Joe Willock will return alongside Sean Longstaff and Bruno in the middle there, with a front 3 of probably Callum Wilson, Miguel Almiron, and then Anthony Gordon on the left, who I thought did okay down at Manchester City last week. I'm still not entirely convinced he's got that real X factor they need in the final third, which they are missing at the moment. But I thought in terms of his general approach play, I thought he was good, and I think you've paid that 45 million pound for him. Again, leave him in the team. Same principle as Isak. Let's see what he can do. Let's see what he can't do going into the summer, because it could inform what they do in terms of that business. Well, that's about it for me for now. I'll post the links in the description below. Also as well, I'm going to put a little link in the top right hand corner here to a video I did a few weeks ago. I'm conscious that the game isn't until Sunday, so if you've got extra time to watch a video of me wandering around Europe, going to a few various football stadiums and looking for retro floodlights, which is a little hobby of mine, please do click on that link and enjoy. But yeah, I'll see you again on Sunday night, and with my thoughts after Wolves. And again, I think it's a big game which will tell us where Newcastle United could go between now and the end of the season. Okay, thanks again for watching, guys. Please click like, click subscribe. It all helps with the visibility, I'm told, of these videos. So okay, see you in a bit. Bye bye.